Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Friday, and it's time for us to have a dope discussion. It has a financial nexus, but y'all know Fridays, I like to talk about, something that's a good social conversation piece, something that, people have opinions on. But as always, we could tie it back into the money, to the finances. Yo, I'm Marcus. You're the channel, The Debt Free Dad. I appreciate you all tuning in. As always, disclaimer, licensed attorney, but this isn't legal or financial advice. Just letting y'all know what we got cracking, what we got cracking over here at the DFD household as my family is on this journey to financial freedom. So, hey, is this Friday? We spinning into the Super Bowl. We spinning into Valentine's Day. So before we even get started, we always got to have a little icebreaker. You know what I mean? We got to talk a little bit about just what's going on in general. So, Super Bowl plans. I know a lot of people got their Super Bowl plans. They got their what's going on, Aaron? I appreciate you tuning in, sis. I know a lot of folks got their Super Bowl plans and things going on, but before we dive into the subject, this has some relevance to the subject. So I'm interested in what people's opinions are of Valentine's Day, okay? Because Valentine's Day is around the corner. I already know I'm probably not going to have a live where I have a chance to talk about it. So I really want to know just kind of where people fall on Valentine's Day. Now, I could tell y'all my position on Valentine's Day, and I take the position of being a complete and utter hypocrite. I'm a complete hypocrite when it comes to Valentine's Day. So it is what it is. I mean, I'm gonna let y'all know I'm a hypocrite before I tell y'all the act that I do that actually makes me a hypocrite when it comes to Valentine's Day. But long story short, I think it's dope if you want to have a day and get your partner chocolate and candy and the nasty ass hearts that got little stupid messages written on them and a card that they probably won't remember. Hey, if people want to do that, they can. I agree. So me and your husband are on the same page. I'm not a fan of Valentine's Day. I've never been a proponent of it. I kind of laid that foundation and framework many, many moons ago when I met Mrs. DFD before she was Mrs. DFD. I was like, look here, I ain't gonna let the man, I ain't gonna let society tell me when I should do something nice for you. I do nice stuff for you all the time. So I'm gonna agree with your husband on this one, Aaron. I think, hey, that's for those guys who are novices. They trying to impress somebody. I don't got time for it. I kind of set that foundation long ago, and I mean, fortunately, hey, my wife never gave me a rebuttal, so it ended up working itself out. And even if she did give me a rebuttal, we probably wouldn't be at the point that we're at. But I just think that it's just a whole thing that's just designed for people to buy stuff. Sometimes I do go buy Valentine's Day candy on February 15th. If it's on sale and it's something I like, I'll be like, yo, I'm about to cop these Valentine's Day Reese's cups. But outside of that, I'm just not a fan of the overall concept. Now, here's where I'm a hypocrite at, okay? And I already know y'all know. For me, I don't need anybody to tell me when to do something nice for my woman. I'm just going to do these nice things when I feel like doing them because, hey, I'm a nice guy. That's just kind of what it is. That being said, when my daughter get older and she start dating, if she comes to me and tells me, "Hey, Daddy, I'm talking to this guy and Valentine's Day next week, but he told me his philosophy on Valentine's Day is that society shouldn't dictate when he should do something nice for me." I'm gonna be like, "Leave his ass." I'll be like, nope. She gonna look at me and be like, "But you do the same thing to my." I don't give a damn what I do. Don't worry about what I do. You worry about what I say in this particular instance. So I am a hypocrite in that regard. Valentine's Day for me, I'm not doing it. I'm not going all out doing all of that crazy stuff. Sometimes I've done stuff on Valentine's Day that just so happens to be Valentine's Day, especially if it's like a Friday or Saturday. But for my daughter, nah. So typically, this is what I do on Valentine's Day. I I try to get my message across, but still kind of maintain my hypocrite ways. So typically for Valentine's Day, what I'll do is I'll have my son take his mother out somewhere, and I'll take my daughter out somewhere. That's just kind of what we've been doing for Valentine's Day. It's kind of a daddy daughter thing, it's kind of a son mother thing, and that's just kind of been our game plan on what we've been doing on Valentine's Day, occasionally, not all the time. I mean, my son is how could I put this? I love him, but he wear his heart on his sleeve a little bit more than DFD. So I already know he gonna be a candy heart card getting person. That's just kind of his. That appears to be his personality and makeup at the age of 16. So I'm not going to defer him from that. He can make his own position on it. Now, hey, with D, I mean, even at that age, I think at that age, I bought like a girl some stupid ass bear or something. Or I wanted at the carnival, but I remember at that age, because you're in school and they kind of condition you to do little stupid stuff on Valentine's Day. So he's probably going to be a Valentine's Day guy. I was probably at that age, not as much as him, but I probably was. But I don't know where I developed this Valentine's Day ideology. It would definitely happen after high school. I feel like in high school, of course, you're gonna do all the little stupid ass gifts and all of that stuff. But after high school, my Valentine's Day ideology shifted completely, and that was probably coincide with my years where I was for the streets. So that's how I would put that. Now I bring up Valentine's Day, because we got to talk about this. And my son gave me some interesting jewels on something that I thought was a financial failure. He actually made me feel really better about it. But to fully explain the story, I got to kind of talk about where the conversation started. And this is kind of the second talking point I wanted to talk about. That's why I thought Valentine's Day was a really good segue. What is the age that you all think that a man and a woman should preferably get married? Like, what age is preferable for a woman? If you were sitting down with your daughter and she asked you that question, or in a perfect world, what age do you think for a woman is the perfect age to get married, and what age do you think for a man is the perfect age to get married? Because the answer can't be the same for both of them, right? I don't know. Like, I guess the answer could be, but for me, it wouldn't make sense for the answer to be same. The answer that I gave my son is going to be a completely damn different answer than what I'm going to give my daughter. My son, I'm gonna give him answer A. My daughter gonna get answer B. Not because, but just because they're different. Men and women are different. Time frames are different. Biological clocks make the time frame for a woman different. So this conversation started, and I got this epiphany because we were talking about the age that a man should get married, right? And so what I told him was, I said, for me, I think that the best age for a man to get married is probably 30. I said 30 is 25, 85 for a man. From your previous video, I would say 25 for a woman and 85 for a man. Ha ha ha. Like 85, I'm telling you that. Like, I don't know. Like at 85, if you haven't been married before, you can get married. And I actually wanted to talk about that video, that link you sent me of that wild ass couple. Maybe we'll touch bases on it on the back end so I could chop this video up. But 85 for a man. 85, if you've already been married and you're divorced at 85 as a man, don't get married again. If you've never been married at 85, you can risk it as long as you protect yourself. But we was having this conversation, and I told him that I think the prime age is 30. Now, I got married at 25, and I said, I think one of if I could do it over, I wouldn't have gotten married so soon. And I said, I don't think it wasn't nothing related to your moms or anything like that. I said it was really a me thing. I think I would have been a lot more mature, because trust me, 25 through 27, 28, man, I was doing some dumb shit. Ooh, Lord. Anyway, so, I think 30 is kind of that magic number, because it gives, a guy an opportunity to be mature. But for me, the thing I said was, and I told him, I said it wasn't necessarily a behavior thing for me. I said, but my money was crazy at 25. At 25, I was broke as hell. Think about it. At like 25, I was out of the military, married, had a child on the way, like about to start law school, and you couldn't work your first year in law school. So I was really broke as hell at 25. No pressure. Okay, we keep it fun, no pressure. There's some chocolate covered strawberries at the shop I like. They don't typically sell all year, but that's about the size of it. Okay, that makes sense. That's a like I said, I just don't think you should put too many crazy expectations on Valentine's Day. If y'all keeping it light, nobody got to go all out, every Valentine's Day, because that could get kind of crazy. Because I know for me, coming off of December and January to do something crazy and big every February, that's a lot, man. I'm talking about I got a birthday, I got Christmas, January we got a wedding anniversary, then February we gotta let's tone it down. Summertime coming, we probably gonna be going on vacation soon. So I think that's a dope way to look at it. Don't put too much pressure. See, 30, 32, your son is a wise sage, right? Now there are benefits to get married and have a family early. Like, hey, I will say I am so glad at the age I am now. I don't want no goddamn 2-year-old. Can you imagine if I had a 2-year-old? Oh my goodness. I would be so stressed out. My knees already hurt. I don't have the time and energy to chase kids around. So there are some benefits to getting married young. But for me, the maturity thing was second. It was more of I think 30 would have been better because I would have been a little bit more established financially. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of really my main reason for it. I mean, I don't think I was immature, but I don't think I was super immature, but I was dumb as hell. But I think for me it was kind of a finance thing, right? And like I told y'all the story because we all got these stories, and if you never had a utility cut off before, God bless you. But I think I mentioned on the channel the story before of like the moment where I realized, like, man, I got to get my financial shit together. Was I forgot to pay the water bill? Ooh, Lord. My wife was in the shower too. She was all soapy. It was hilarious, but terrible. But that was the one instance where I was like, man, I got to get my financial shit together. Luckily, I had the money to actually pay it and get it cut on that same day, but I just wasn't keeping track of things. So for me, it was more a financial thing. And what I told my son, which was weird because for me, I actually looked at this as a financial failure. I told my son, I said the reason I would have waited to 30 was because I felt like I cheated you out of 5 or 6 years of having a lifestyle where you had a little bit of flexibility to kind of do the things that you want, the things that those things that would have took priority, those things that would have been a good experience. And so, let's take a look. By the time my daughter got here, I was well into my career. I was like knocking on the door of 6 figures. I wasn't perfect financially, but I was in a much better position. We weren't so over leveraged with debt. Those first 5 or 6 years for my son, oh man, it was Strugglesville. It was Strugglesville, USA. We was trying to figure out how we were going to pay stuff. We was borrowing money out the change jar to pay for emergencies. We were using credit cards. It was just a shit show of financial disaster early on because we just didn't really have our bearings. We were young, we had everything separate. It was just kind of really awkward. And so when I told my son, I said the biggest thing was, had I waited till I was 30, I would have been better off financially. So you could have had that first 5 or 6 years that your sister had. And so this is where my son, look, he's the smartest dumb kid I ever seen in my life. But every now and then he has these moments of granularity that provides me so much clarity when he says something. And so when I told him that, he looked at me and said, he thought about it. He was like, I don't remember any bad financial times when I was a kid. So it was all me. Like me feeling like that first 5 or 6 years of my son's life, I dropped the ball financially because we were an utter disaster or utter whirlwind financially. It was of no consequence to him. He couldn't remember or recall any of the hardships. He was like, I remember going to the beach. I remember being at the park. He goes through all the things he remembered, and that made me realize a few things. One, some of the things that we may think are failures in our life forever for whatever reason, whether it's financial or anything, it may not. The reason we think those things are failures, it may be a non-issue for the person who you think had the most impact on it. You know what I mean? So the person who you think that failure moment in your life impacted the most and you wish you could do it over, they probably don't even give a damn about it. That's point number one. So most times I ain't gonna say 90, 100% of the times, but I think I would go on the record to probably say, 90% of the times, everyone is responsible for their own financial situation. Now we all know, hey, there are some people out there who putting gas bills and credit cards and newborn social security numbers. So hey, some people start off with on a bad foot, but 9 times out of 10, most people's financial situation is completely in their control, and their actions led to whatever their situation is, good or bad. But with your finances, we always have an opportunity to get a do-over. And a lot of times in life, you can't get a do-over with certain things. But with finances, you can. So me thinking that whole first 6 years of my son's life was just a disaster because we was on Strugglesville and he couldn't do much. When I talked to him about it, he didn't recall any of that. He was like, nah, man, I remember childhood. I felt like we did a lot. And, we did what we could do. We gas up the car, drive 3 hours to the beach. We weren't going on no plane rides or nothing like that, but we did things so that he can have the feeling of being in the beach, having that vacation. Because vacations are big to me because I never had a vacation as a child. I never went anywhere, never felt no sand between my toes. But he really changed my outlook on that. I thought that was a situation where it was in definitely my top 3 financial failures because I felt like I didn't give him the resources. But when I talked to him, he was like, it wasn't nothing. He remembered one thing. He remembered one specific instance that he mentioned where he was like, this sucks. Are we broke? And at that time, I wouldn't say we were broke. We were imagine this being broke as a whole, right? We were at the bottom of the hole. This example I'm about to give you, we were like climbed up and we had our hands on the top where we could look over and climb out of the hole. That's kind of where we were at. But the one instance that he remembered was, it was a point where we were in North Carolina and we realized, we want to get out of this country and move back up north to the city. My wife ended up getting the job first. So she moved with our daughter because our daughter was young. And Lord, if I showed y'all the pictures of me doing her hair, a couple times I was proud of myself, but most of them were failures. But, so because my wife got that job, she went up north with her and my daughter. My son was still in school. So me and him, or he and I, stayed in North Carolina. When we stayed in North Carolina, we still had a mortgage to maintain, but we also had to flip the bill so my wife can have a place. And Lord bless my family, and especially my mother. I love Mama DFD, but I know the way that things work with the people I love. My wife and daughter, as a newborn, like my daughter was like 8 months or something like that. Living with my mom, that would have been a no-go and it wouldn't have worked. So we had to maintain a mortgage and we had to also get a place in DC. And so my son was with me, and oh man, we was eating pizza. We was eating like some straight bachelors. Like my cholesterol was probably high as fuck. But once I finally got a job, school year finished up with my son, I landed a job in the city. So when we went back up, we were like, okay, we can rent this house out. Now let's try to find a place to live, in the city. But when we're looking for a place to live in the city, it was wild because we still had the lease on this 1-bedroom apartment that my wife had. So I was like, hey, the last thing I want to do, I'm trying to fix up the house in North Carolina so we can get that rented out. So we're still flipping the mortgage bill on that. We got a 1 bedroom apartment that my wife was in. Now all four of us are in this small ass 1 bedroom apartment, and we're looking for a place to move. But I don't want to move until one, this lease is up, and two, we actually get a renter in that property, so we aren't flipping the bill for that mortgage every month. That was the scenario that my son remembered. All the things that I thought were financial hardships, and it impacted his youth because he didn't have this ability to do all of these things. He didn't remember none of that shit. The only thing he remembered was staying in that 1 bedroom small apartment for like 3 months until we found the bigger place. That was the only thing. So something that I thought was a financial failure because I felt like I wasn't providing economically in a way that I could have for my family. My biggest concern was the impact on my son. And once I talked to him about it, this was literally like a couple days ago, I was like, man, I've been stressing over that shit all these years, and it was nothing to him. So that's just kind of how things work out. You always get a do over with your finances. A lot of times you can get do overs in life. How you make things and how you move in areas are up to you. The other takeaway that I learned from that is when kids are little, now these big ass kids I got, 16, 12, nah, like those are like they aren't kids. Like, you know, when kids are adorable and they like, oh, pinching cheeks. No, at 12 and 16, like they stink and like they like act grown sometimes, and this shit is just weird. But young kids, you know, if you're out there and you got young kids, kids do not give a damn about all of the things that you think they may care about. And as a prime example, I know I kind of learned that with my daughter because, you know, when my son was born, I was a, you know, young father at 25, 26. And, you know, if I had a cool leather jacket, I wanted my son to have the cool leather jacket to match. If I had a nice pair of Timbs, I wanted my son to have it. My son had Timberlands. Them bitches ain't even, those shoes didn't even, see, I'm going too far. Those shoes didn't even have soles on them because he couldn't walk. They was like some soft Timberlands, but I was wasting money on all of these things to make him look fresh so he could look so cool and cute and adorable. And he didn't care about that stuff. Even as he grew up, when he was 4, 5, 6, he didn't care about that stuff. Now at 16 is a little bit of a problem because he cares about all of that shit. But at that age, he didn't care. So the other thing that I learned is when your kids are young, even if you don't have much, time is the most important thing that you can give them. And honestly, if you give them quality time, that's the only thing they're gonna remember. You know, when it come to kids, like, oh man, I would like to take my kids to Disney World, but I can't afford it. Your kids do not give a damn about that. They literally don't, and they probably won't remember it. You could go out in the yard with a big ass trash bag, cut it in half, lay it out, spray it with the water hose, and y'all spend the day running and sliding down a wet ass trash bag, and they'll never forget that. They'll be like, "Oh man, you remember trash bag splash park in the backyard? It was so fun. It was great." So I feel like sometimes we beat ourselves up for things that we want because we're older. We know that these might have not been things we had as a child, but we don't got to break our back to necessarily do those things for our kids if we don't have it to do. Because when they're young like that, they don't care. Now, when they're 16, they probably gonna care a little bit, but when they're younger like that, 5, 6, 7, man, if you can give them a good time, make them laugh, get them a scoop of ice cream, they're gonna be happy as hell. So that was kind of the lesson that, you know, my son shed a little bit of light on for me, that made me look at that situation that I thought was a financial failure a little bit different. So, all right, I got one more thing that I want to talk about before I get off here, and I'm probably gonna have to chop this up because this is gonna be crazy. Now, someone in the chat, my homegirl Erin, sent me this on Instagram. Okay, now, I don't know if y'all saw last week's show, but hey, it was like a 24-year-old married an 85-year-old. So, of course, I go to my Instagram and look, and I was like, "Ooh, I got a message from Aaron, one of my favorite community members." So I go in there and look, and there's a very interesting article. So I want to pull this article up. It's about a couple who was married, and I wanted to get y'all thoughts on this. Now, I don't know. I'm so conflicted when I look at this. Let me pull this article up real quick. Okay. Whew, man, this is interesting. As soon as I popped it up, so much stuff came up. Let me find the article. Let me find the article. Come on, I'm looking for this article. You know what? I could just pull it up on IG. That'll be easier, right? See, sometimes I gotta work smarter and not harder. You want to see you want to see my reaction, man? I was so damn conflicted. I was conflicted just reading that article because I was like, I don't know. We gonna jump into it. Let me pull it up real quick because I pulled it up, but it was a bunch of videos, and I really didn't want to use a video. So let me go. I'm gonna pull up the article that you sent me, sis. Why can't come on now, y'all? Well, now bear with me, people. 23. Let's see. Okay, yeah, damn. As soon as I put that and that shit popped up immediately. Ah, man, that popped up immediately. Okay, let me go and get this. Let me get this screen up so I can share it with y'all. So y'all can y'all can take a look. Do they got pictures? Oh my god, the pictures are so Jesus. You know I'm conflicted when I got a call. You know I'm conflicted when I got a call on the what I say Jesus in the comment. Let me share the screen. All right, I'm about to pull this up right now. All right, there you go. All right, so let's see if I got it. All right, yeah. Year old girl, I'm not a creep. Okay, now for entertainment purposes, we're gonna call this creep or courageous. Is this dude a creep or is this dude courageous? Oh man, and they make us man. They starting out. It says a hunky travel blogger has hit back at claims he is a creep for dating a 23-year-old woman who looks like an 8-year-old girl. Dan Swaggart, 26, recently began romancing reality star Shauna Ray. Oh, she's a reality star. I had no. Whose growth was stunted due to treatment she received as a child for brain cancer. Ray, who weighs 50 pounds and is 3 feet 10 inches, is the subject of TLC reality series I Am Shauna Ray. Wow. Oh man. Those measurements make it just those measurements, just reading her measurements, 50 pounds, 3 foot 10, and he's described as a hunky 23-year-old. Like my creep alarm is going up, but let's finish reading it. It's creeper courageous. That's what the title of it. Chop it up. Swagger recently shared several snaps with Ray on Instagram before posting the video to the social media site, vehemently defending their connection. It's long been a struggle for Ray to date, with the pint-sized personality previously feeling the post underestimated and excluded because of her appearance. Oh my god, that picture is just oh man, I'm dropping my glasses. Man, what are y'all thoughts just seeing this? Because I'm telling you right now, if I saw this picture, I'm immediately gonna find a location. I'm gonna go to Google and find a location of this and have this dude arrested by the SWAT team immediately. But we know the situations. Hey, the attorney in me is just screaming that he's a crime. Okay, as weird as I could perceive it, or anybody else may perceive it. First thing first, he definitely is not breaking a crime, but Hey, I'm with you on that. It's the pictures that got me feeling a little conflicted. Hey, the pictures make it really fucking look terrible. But hey, legally, he's not committing a crime, so we'll leave it at that. Oh man, that just look. Oh man, it's crazy. It is very important to remember that is an incredible 23-year-old woman who has a disability. He explained. So as you are building a connection with her, it's important to acknowledge her disability and look past that and build it with who she is and as an individual. I don't know if he wrote that on his own, but I thought that was great. Swagger continued. As soon as you say that she can't have a real world connection with someone else, you dehumanize her. She is a human being. She deserves to have relationships and connections with whoever she wants. I don't disagree. Swagger, who hails from the UK, appears in the second season of I Am Shauna Ray, where he is seen forging a connection with the pint-sized star. Damn, I don't know if that was an advertisement for a show, but I got to see how the hell this developed because yeah, that's. But the Brit has been blasted by viewers with someone saying he is sick for thinking of Ray as a legitimate love interest. Yes, she is 23, but she looks and talks like an 8-year-old. She does not act like a mature woman. She is childlike, one critic exclaimed. Oh man, those pictures look terrible. If any man or woman can honestly say that they see her as a sexual woman, they are either lying or sick, period. Another allegedly stated, while the third described him as creepy. Oh, I gotta click on this now.
What me and Shauna met was I saw the first season of the show. I was really inspired by her emotional strength. So I sent
Oops, I'm making it smaller.
saying, go live your best life, wishing you all the happiness you deserve. Of course, I did the show knowing I was going to get some hate, but remember that Shauna is an incredible 23-year-old woman who has a disability. So as you're building a connection with her, it's important to acknowledge her disability and look past that and build it with who she is as an individual. You know, she's this incredible, inspiring 23-year-old woman who just happens to be a little bit short. And as soon as you say that she can't have a real-world connection with someone else, you dehumanize her, which is absolutely disgusting. You know, she is a human being. She deserves to have relationships and connection with whoever she wants. And I think some people aren't emotionally mature enough to understand that you can have a deep connection based on personality rather just on looks.
Ah, fuck. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. That being said, I think that he said, okay, I'm gonna look at this with my attorney hat first. Okay, with my attorney hat, this guy is not committing any crimes. This young lady is 23 years old. They both are of age. I'm no practitioner in the UK or wherever the hell they may or may not be at, but I'm sure universally 23 years of age is far more and far past the age of consent in most countries, in any country. So it's definitely not a crime. That being said, I, I don't even know where to start because there's a couple of things like this is just me. Every woman that I've ever interacted with in life, it was always completely a physical attraction that initiated that initial conversation. See, sis, you tuned in. Hey, what's going on, sis? You tuned in right time when we get into the interesting discussion. I'm gonna bring the picture back up so you can know exactly what we talk about. You done missed the finance. Now you on the back part. Okay, we're talking about creep. We're talking about, is this guy a creep or let me pull it up. Let's pull it up. So I'm gonna leave the visual image up right there. This is the guy we talking about right here. This is a brother who's 23 year old. or however old he is. He's dating a woman who's 23, but because of a medical issue, she had brain cancer. Because of her treatment, she forever is going to have the physical characteristics of an 8-year old. That's just kind of what it is. So, hey, you know me, I'm a man of the jurisprudence. I got to start out by saying the brother is not committing the crime. But like I said, for me, this is just me. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, anytime I initiated any interaction with a woman, it was the looks that drove me over there first. I literally have never met a woman who was like, man, I heard you talk over the phone and you was just so great over the phone. Your personality just intrigued me. So it's not a crime, but it's creepy as fuck. Okay. It's not a crime, but I will say it's creepy as hell. Okay. And the thing that makes it creepy, just for me, is and I don't know what the intimacy or the sexual nature of their relationship is. They could have a relationship where they just comfort each other and have a conversation, and they may have a mutual agreement where this guy can actually go have sex with a woman who looks like a grown woman. And if that's their arrangement and it works for them, hey, it is what it is. But if that's not their arrangement, if that's not their arrangement, and he's just as enamored with her personality, and like, that's fucking creepy. I'm sorry, that's creepy. I'm not saying this guy is I'm not saying this guy's anything. Don't come after me. I'm not saying this guy's anything, but I would have real concerns and or reservations. Like, could you imagine if this guy was like a damn teacher at your kid's school, and your daughter is 11 years old, 10 years old? Like, it's just the optics of it is fucking terrible. The optics of it is terrible. The fact that I just don't see how hey, and I get it. She completely deserves to live her life and experience all of the experiences that any adult female or anyone should be able to experience legally where they aren't hurting anybody else. I actually agree with that. But I don't see how a guy can look at her and even be like, oh man, wow, she's beautiful. I'm not talking about her fucking personality. I'm sure her personality is the greatest personality in the world. I'm talking about her physical characteristics and attributes. I don't see how any guy can look at her and be like, oh man, woo. Like, no, it's just not like it's just not working for me, and I don't think it will work for most guys out there. It may be a few creepazoids out there who it may be a few creepazoids out there, those R&B singer types, but for most average men, that's not something that they can deal with outside of having some other type of arrangement. This is a less funny story than the young sister marrying the old ass guy. Like, that had everything to do with laughter, and I completely understood it from an economic standpoint and from a I'm old as hell, I don't want to die alone. This situation right here is I'm not saying I hope, however the hell they got their relationship, however the sex and the intimacy in their relationship is broken down. Kudos to y'all. I hope y'all figure that shit out. But I don't see any way that this could be sustained. There's a couple of things that could be at play. One, again, I'm not saying he is clout chasing, but he could be clout chasing. Nobody would know who the hell this guy was, but for this reality show, but but for him being enamored with this young woman, and now it's all over the news. Now we know the type of work he do from the articles. So hey, it could be he could generally have feelings for her, which could be genuine and everything. The physical aspect is just no way around it. It's just fucking creepy. There's no way that a grown man would find a woman, I don't care how fucking amazing her personality is, with the physical characteristics of an 8-year-old, just attractive. That's just not, unless you, like I said, unless you like, on some, R&B singer type stuff, it's just not norm, is not acceptable. The other thing is, if I actually hope that it's the former, not the latter. I hope that he's actually infatuated with her personality, and maybe they have some arrangement where this whole thing just works out for the both of them. You know what I mean? But and that's the thing. That's why I said I hope it's the former and not the latter. I hope that he genuinely likes her, and hey, I'm gonna give this brother the credit, the benefit of the doubt. But it's not uncommon for people to date people in the reality space to build their business, to build a name for themselves, to build a brand. And I'm not saying this guy's doing it, but I hope it is something where he genuinely likes her. He's looking past her disability, because what he said was true, and I agree with that. She deserves to experience all the things that everybody else has a chance to experience. And if he can look past that, that's cool. If he can look past the stairs, because there's going to be some crazy stairs like a mother. Oh my God. Is he You go out with a woman who looks like this, or inverse, a guy who looks like this? Like, come on, ladies, really? Really? Can we find a woman who would do this? Like, I don't know. I I I'm agree with you, Bernie. I hope that is the former. I hope that he's truly got feelings for this girl, and I hope that he's not clout chasing. Because if he is, which I'm not saying he isn't, but if he was, that's fucked up. Like, that's extremely fucked up to do that, to try to build your brand or get some fucking notoriety. Like, I don't know if she got siblings, but if her siblings don't have a disability and that was the case, they should whip his ass. But I mean, I hope that that's definitely not the case. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, how the other thing is, okay, she could be happy in this relationship, but man, you don't think that shit is going to bother them? Like, I don't care what people say. People can say all the shit that they want, like, oh man, I got a disability, but I don't care what people think. And you can say that shit, but that shit going to bother you. There's no doubt in my mind that that shit is going to bother you, even as a adult, even as a confident adult. After I had brain surgery, I had this big ass scar running down the back of my neck that looked just fucking crazy as hell. And then, when you get a brain surgery, it's like they put reset on your whole body. Like, it's like rebooting a computer, and everything got to get uploaded. So, like, man, I had some fucking Cookie Monster eye action going on. My shit was all over the place. So I had to wear a fucking patch over my shit to strengthen the other one, so my shit would get back to so my eyes would not be on Cookie Monster status. And I'm as confident as you can be, but that shit bothered me sometimes, going out with a patch over my eye looking like Captain Crunch. So no matter how tough your skin is, to constantly get the looks, people are assholes out there. You're gonna get people who are saying stuff, and so you know that's just gonna be a whole nother task in and of itself. But I hope it's legit. And like I said, hey, I I'm not saying that it can't work. We don't know what arrangements they may have to facilitate the intimacy in their bedroom. And if they have those arrangements worked out, that would be great. Like for example, if I was this age and I was dating a 95-year, I'm married to a 95-year-old woman. I was like, hey, I love you, Gertrude, and you're great. But Gertrude, we're gonna have to work something out. So you can have a round of applications, and we can figure out who's the best candidate, who's willing to help us facilitate this thing. So they may have some type of arrangement to just make things better, but that's a fucked up situation. The optics of it looks terrible. People innately, again, this guy's not doing anything illegal. We're giving him the benefit of the doubt because it appears to be genuine, but that's just not how society works. Let's just think about this. Like, it's people in this day and age who, what age were you all when you all had your first male teacher in school? That's the best way. That's the best way to couch this. And what grade were you in when you had your very first male teacher growing up in school? Yeah. Given that she looks like an 8-year old, what would the reaction be if she were to date a person who looks the same as she does? I mean, I don't think that would warrant as many reactions because I mean, let's just think about this. I'm sure there are other people who had a similar situation who body may have been affected the same way, and we see it all the time. We see people who may be midgets. We see people who have certain diseases who say, okay, I have this, you have this, let me find a match to fit someone who's dealing with the same situation or circumstances. So I think that would warrant and draw less attention than it would when when you have someone who looks like an adult versus someone who's an adult but doesn't have the appearance of an adult. You were in fourth grade, okay? You were in fourth grade, right? Now, I'm gonna tell you how society works. This is a real conversation I had with grown ass men, and we and there aren't a bunch of chuckleheads, right? But I think I was in fifth grade when I had my first male teacher. I honestly don't remember any teacher from like 1 through grade 4, pre-K through 4, kindergarten through 4, ever being a male. And so there are guys out there where if their daughter had kindergarten teacher who was a guy, like this is a real conversation and how people think. Like, hey, bro, you couldn't find nothing else to do as a career, really? There wasn't no other jobs out there for you to do but teach kindergarten. Like, it's people out there who are gonna look at that with a side eye. So again, not anything that this guy is doing. We're just talking about, and I'm talking about how society is going to perceive awkward situations. It's different. It's outside of the norm. It's weird if I were to walk in my daughter's kindergarten class and the teacher was a guy and the teacher's assistant was a guy. That's not the norm for what I see. So anything that's outside the norm are going to draw some attention and some reactions from some people, So that's kind of, where I'm at with that. See, sixth grade, men teachers typically are very few and far between from kindergarten through grade 5 or 6. I think that unless they teach gym. If they teach gym, people will be like, "Oh, he teaches gym, no, all right." Yeah, he a gym teacher. Okay, he a gym teacher. But let your second grade, your first grade math teacher be Mr. Bronson, and Mr. Bronson likes to lift weights in his off time. People gonna look at that shit like it's crazy. It's just because it's something that's outside of the norm. So anything that's outside the norm are going to get scrutiny, is going to get looked at. Okay. Yeah, in high school, I think it was a little bit different though. In high school, it was in high school, I saw a lot more male teachers. They became more prevalent. But elementary school, the grades like K through 5, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember. Yo, I might not have had. I honestly don't think I had a male teacher from kindergarten through fifth grade. Now that I think about it, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, Miss Ball. I'm sitting here thinking of all the teachers, and I honestly don't think I had one until I was in middle school in the sixth grade because it's just something that's really uncommon. You know what I mean? You ran into your sixth grade teacher at the beach. Oh man. He tried to you were out of high school, like finished out high school, or it was the summertime. Yeah, teachers in high schools were creep. We had a couple creeps in. We had a couple creep teachers in our high school too. I used to be like, I don't think they should be hugging these students like that. So, there's some creeps out there. But this is a situation where we're giving the guy the benefit of the doubt. He's not breaking any law. Hey, he appears to be infatuated with this young lady and her personality. We don't know what their arrangement is, and they may have an arrangement that makes everything work out for them. But just optics is weird as fuck. It's weird optics. The optics are weird. If this guy was a second grade teacher and this guy, I knew this situation, I would be like, okay, all right. I can ask Wolverine, man. Do you remember any men teacher in elementary school? I honestly don't remember any male teachers. I remember like men administrators, like administrative staff, but I don't remember having any male teachers who weren't a substitute from kindergarten through fifth grade. Because I think it was just weird, especially back we talking about the 80s. In the 80s, nah, teaching elementary school kids was a job where it got thrown into a gender where that's the thing that women did. Like that's back in the day, like nursing was kind of like that as well. But yeah, it's anything that's outside of the norm is creepy as hell, and people are gonna look at it and give it some scrutiny. And let me pull it up. This shit right here is gonna get scrutinized. It's gonna get looked at all the time. It looked fucking weird as hell. If I don't care whatever that guy's profession was, this is just me, right? And I'm not saying whatever they got going on is fine. I would have reservations if my daughter was anywhere around this guy, not any guy. Like my daughter, my daughter has like now it's a little bit more common to see teachers, but my daughter's I think in fifth grade, she had her first male teacher, and he was a cool dude. That male teacher was dating a grown ass woman who physically had the characteristics of my daughter, that shit would bother me. I just can't say that it won't. Again, I'm not saying anything against him. I'm just speaking on what would bother me and what wouldn't. And that shit would bother me big time. See, I told you, male teachers in elementary school wasn't a deal. And this was a conversation I had recently. And the majority of the guys was like, hey, bro, why you teaching first grade? Like, you couldn't find anything else to do? Trash man. You ain't want to you didn't want to be a nurse, nothing. You just wanted to come down here and teach the kids, huh? Like, the majority of guys in that conversation was like, I'm going to that's something I'm gonna look twice at and kind of give a side eye to because it's awkward. These are guys who came up in the 80s where male teachers at that age weren't a thing, and hey, they carry over some of those. They carry over some of those, ideologies. It is what it is, Mr. Smallwood. I remember that, Bama. Oh my God, that's the worst name ever. Yeah, Mr. Cherry. Yeah, that's a yeah. If Mr. Cherry did, think about it. Your kid Y'all terrible, man. Mr. Smallwood and Mr. Cherry. Oh my God. Yeah. This is like, you know what? I used to think it was me that made these lives go left. Now I love y'all, but I realize it's y'all. Y'all just throw out the bait, and what do? I just go right down that road. Like, I just go right down there. I just go right down that damn road, right along with y'all. It's terrible. Yeah, man. You didn't see male teachers until high school. So this brother is always going to get scrutiny. It is what it is. And you would feel uncomfortable if this guy was like a gymnast. You would be fine, like, oh, this guy. Well, I'm not gonna say gymnast. That's normally a creepy profession. Let's take gymnast out of it because gymnast is generally a creepy ass profession where people give people the side eye. Okay. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. Man, they probably laughing. They was probably laughing at y'all wild kids, man. They probably was laughing at y'all wild kids. But yeah, if whatever that guy does throughout the rest of his life, he's associated with this woman, okay? And even though she's an adult, she has the appearance of a kid. So if he does anything where there are children involved, I can't speak for mom. Let me know, Aaron. Any father is going to look at that shit crazy. Any father will look at that crazy. If that guy was teaching my daughter martial arts, but I know it's this specific guy who's in this relationship with a grown woman who looked like she's 8 and my daughter's 11, it's gonna bother me. It's gonna be a problem. It's gonna bother me. I'm gonna be like, when my son goes to martial arts class, I'm like, all right, man, I'll wait for you in the car. Let my daughter be in martial arts class with this guy. sorry, guy, this is something you're gonna have to deal with, and it's not your fault. It's completely people like me. It's completely my fault. It's the names for me, man. Y'all leave Mr. Cherry, Mr. Smallwood, and Mr. Roach alone. Those are some fucked up names, especially the first two. Man, yeah, terrible. Mr. Cherry, Mr. Smallwood. Oh man, Mr. Cherry is Mr. Smallwood substitute. This is crazy, but I thought that was a wild story. But it's far less funny and it's far less a real. I think that story is a much more real discussion of just how society is going to view that shit. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I think that shit is going to be hard for her to ever have, like, again, I hope this dude is genuine, because that shit is going to be hard for her to ever really have a real ass genuine relationship with somebody. You know what I mean? It's gonna have to be a whole fucking contract written up to outline the parameters of that relationship, so that everybody can have, whatever it is they may or may not need to get through that. Frank Cherry. Oh man, that's crazy, man. But high school was full of creeps, man. Like, it's not uncommon. Like, high school teachers, oh man, they the worst. Like, they the worst. And hey, high school teachers, men and women. Trust me, men and women. No, hey, the guys though, they get, if a guy does something, you going to prison, they're gonna throw your ass under the jail. If a woman does something, just socially, it's a little bit not as bad. They may give her a slap on the wrist or something like that, but that shit is so damn common. It makes no sense. Like, I don't know for certain if that shit was going on in my high school, but I saw a lot of teachers who were hugging a lot of female students a little too, like, yeah, they ain't had no space in between and none of that shit. So, I mean, it's something that happens. But yo, for that couple, y'all got to deal with the benefits, and y'all got to deal with whatever publicity you get from announcing that shit is what you got to deal with. That's just kind of what it is. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember that. I remember that one too. But it's so common, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I feel like over the past probably 7 to 8 years, it seems like a story that I'm hearing a lot more where women are the perpetrators. High school teachers are the perpetrators. And I'm just gonna and let's just put this out there. We gotta understand that high school is different from when I was in high school. All of my high school teachers look exactly like how you think high school teachers would look, except for like one. High school teachers now, oh, trust me, I went to go pick up my son from school one day, and I was like, "How do y'all learn anything?" It's just one of those things. It's one of those things where you just look at me like, "How do y'all learn anything?" Because the students and the teachers are so close in age. The teachers may be, early 20s, students are 17, 18, 19. So man, that shit just is a that shit is a recipe for disaster. Only way you can stop that, you got to get all teachers who look like they are, like, about, I would say maybe 2 or 3 years away from past social security. That's the only way you'll stop that. But anywhere where you got an environment where there's teenagers and there are people who are in their early 20s, male and female, you always gonna have that shit. It's just gonna be it's inevitable to happen. But unfortunately, the people who perpetrate those types of crimes, that shit is treated completely different. If you a guy, they're gonna throw your ass under the jail. You ain't gonna never see the light of day. When you go to jail, it's gonna be a problem, because for a lot of people, like, they like, oh man, especially if the woman is attractive. If the woman is attractive, they like, it was a crime, but was it really a crime? We're gonna give them. That's just kind of how society look at it, which it was crazy as hell. But that's kind of how society looks at it. Nah, man, you don't. No, you don't, man. You say that. Everybody say that, man. But nah, man. Everybody say that, man. But shit, at that age, depending on what age you are, man, that should have traumatized you so much, man. It'd be like it's like Richard Pryor growing up in a brothel and shit. You know, Richard Pryor grew up in a brothel and he saw so much shit. Man, when you see shit or experience shit too young or younger than you should, man, that shit stay with you subconsciously. You'd be like, man, why I'm only attracted to this, or why am I intrigued by that? And that shit is by some fucked up stuff that probably happened to you when you were too young to comprehend it or rationalize it. But you know, that's just that's just what the double standards are. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. Nobody, there's no if, ands, or buts about it. Nobody want to hear any of that shit. Let's take this same situation. Let's take this same situation, right? If it was a grown ass woman who was just stacked, who looked like a woman, and she was dating a guy who was 23, but he looked like an 8-year old, people would give less fucks about it. You don't think so? I don't think it would. It might make news, but nobody would really give a shit about it. It would bother me completely less. Cause I'm like, and it's terrible that I'm saying this, but if everything was reversed and it was a grown ass woman dating a grown ass man who looked like he was 8, I'm completely less bothered by that. That bothers me less. I'm like, hey, little man, I see you, little man. that's, that's exactly how people would look at it. Hey, I know that's it's kind of hypocritical, but so the way our society brings us up, we look at things we look at things different. You want that trauma? Nah, like would would you judge it differently if it was a grown ass woman who was nice looking, who was dating a grown ass man who looked like he was 9 or 10? No, you would be like, oh man, I ain't that bad. Like, hey, I'm proud of little man. They be like, go ahead, little man. Like, you see him, you're gonna be like, hey, little man, here's a jersey. You gonna treat him like you're gonna really be proud of that guy. That's just kind of what it is. Society is all backwards, man. We always strive for and want equality. We always strive for and want equality, but we can't separate that shit from gender roles. Females are always seen as more vulnerable. That's just kind of what it's been historically. So when we see that image of this grown ass man with a 6 pack dating this grown ass woman who looked little, she looks so vulnerable, and we think of her as helpless. And so we're like, nah. But if it was the inverse, if it was some brick house woman who was all snatched up dating this old guy who looked like he was 8, we'd be like, man, little man living his best life. That's just kind of what it would be. That's just kind of what it would be. You just gonna have to deal with the therapy. You be like, yeah, man, Mrs. Body took advantage of me, but if I got any problems, I'll just go to therapy later. Nah, man, that's it. I've seen people who like I've seen guys who've been in this exact situation, and and they like, oh, they think at 11 and 12 it was nothing, and when they got older, they realized like, man, that stuff really messed me up, man. So it's all not created equal out there. It's all not created equal, but that's a fucked up story. It's a fucked up situation. That guy's not committing a crime. I don't want no defamation lawsuit. But if you're doing anything with children, my daughter won't be attending. And my daughter won't be attending. I think that's how we go. I think that's how we go to leave that story. Yo, that's it for this video. I'm gonna jump off here because my mother's wild. My mother called me today and she said I wanted to go see a movie. It's called. She couldn't think of the name of it. I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. She was like, it's called 80s Baby or something, but it got this actress in it I really like. And I was like, what is she talking about? So I go on my phone and look. Did y'all see the preview for the movie 80s for Brady? It looked like it's about 4 older women who are like maybe obsessed with Tom Brady or something. I never even watched the preview. I was like, that's about football. I said, do you know who Tom Brady is? I was like, because when I saw it, I was like, it's about football. You know who Tom Brady is? She said, yeah, the guy who played on the Brady Bunch back in the 80s. And I was like, this. I told her, I said, you know what? That's not who Tom Brady is, but yeah, it is. She thought Tom Brady, the movie '80s for Brady, were about four old who were obsessed with the guy who played Mr. Brady on the Brady Bunch, and I was like, they're all wearing football jerseys. Do you even know who Tom Brady is? She had no clue. So whatever. I got to make sure she get to the right movie, man. Man, she terrible, man. Mrs. Weeks, man, she wilding out, man. I'll holler at y'all. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace.